Well, hey, welcome to In the Growth Space. My name is David McGlennon, and I'm your host. And I am so glad that you're listening in today. Today's story is one that I think you're going to just really be inspired by. You know, our theme this month is being relentless about personal growth, being relentless about improving, and actually being a lifelong learner. And today's guest, Michael Howell, is the epitome of lifelong learning. And it's really one of the traits that I find in leaders who are truly growing and who are truly making an impact in life and in society around them. You know, and sometimes in a person's growth journey, that growth requires just setting aside our own ego and being able to be humble and really learning through pain. And today's guest is somebody who exhibits that and exudes and embodies that lifelong learning path. He's super successful in business, but more importantly, he's humble and he has a heart that desires to build significance in others. Let me tell you just a little bit about Michael and kind of his background and some of his professional history, and then we'll get into our conversation. Michael Howell is the owner-broker of Realty One Group Restore, and he's president CEO of Kingdom Coaching, which is a business that focuses on developing leaders, teaching entrepreneurship, and promoting personal growth. So perfect for the theme this month. He is a catalyst for business growth, as you're going to hear, but his business strengths have catapulted his real estate brokerage to include 3 locations, and he employs over 125 real estate professionals. He's also earned a solid stake in market share in the Tri-County area in eastern Pennsylvania around the Philadelphia area. And Michael also currently serves as a member of the 2023 Pennsylvania Association of Realtors Board of Directors, and he's chair of the Diversity and Inclusion Committee within his local association of realtors. Now, if I could personally summarize Michael's story, it's really from pain to purpose. I even said this in the conversation because you're going to hear that some of Michael's greatest growth came from some of his deepest pain. And I think that's true for all of us who have gone through our own growth journey. Sometimes it takes really deep pain and pivotal moments in our lives to propel us into the next season of growth. And his growth came from a strong foundation of both faith and also personal disciplines and daily disciplines and daily routines. We talk a little bit about that as well. I really enjoyed hearing Michael share his story. He shared some things that I hadn't heard before, which is really cool. Michael and I are friends. We're actually also a part of a mastermind group together, and you're just going to love this conversation with Michael. So let's just go ahead and I'll get out of the way and let's get into that conversation right now with Michael Howell. Well, hey, Michael, I'm so glad to have you here on the podcast on In the Growth Space. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man, it's my pleasure. You know, it's been on my list to have you on for quite a while because your story of growth is just an amazing one, and I'm really excited to get to share it with the listeners here on this episode. So, you know, tell us a little bit about your story. You're an entrepreneur. You know, you're now a coach, and you're just your life just exudes growth. So, talk a little bit about like what got you on that path. What got you on the journey of growth?
Oh man, I'd have to go back to early 20s really, and probably even further than that. I'm married. I've been married now for 33 years to my wife Lori, and back when we were married, about a little over a year, I got in some trouble, and it really was a significant turning point in my life. Um, And, I immediately enrolled in barber school. And after about 13 years or so of doing barbering, I've grown a pretty substantial barber business, and I wanted to buy my own building to open up my own barbershop. And I
Oh,
met a
cool.
realtor, um, who happens to be my partner today, Lou Masella. And long story short, there, within a couple of months, I started going to real estate school. Didn't get that building, so I didn't open up the barbershop at that time.
Okay.
However, I got into real estate, and that's been about 21 years ago.
Wow.
So for the first 13 years, I was doing both barbering and real estate. Real estate became the primary.
Hmm.
All the while, continuing to grow in wisdom and knowledge of the business of real estate.
Yeah.
Um, and then, I've got two sons, adult sons, Michael and Marcus. Michael's now 32 and Marcus is 28. He just got married a month ago.
Yeah.
So both of those
Congratulations.
guys were heavily involved in sports, and I've always wanted to be a part of their. I coached them when they were little, but even when they went into high school, I wanted to be a part of that. So
Yeah,
it
nice.
started becoming a lot more difficult for me to work at the barbershop and sell real estate and make all that. So teams were becoming popular. So after
Oh,
13
yeah.
years, I started to grow a real estate team.
Okay.
Um, Again, not to get too, into it, over the next 5 years, that team grew very large and very productive. We became one of the best teams, most productive teams, I'd say, in the company.
Nice.
And that's when I was approached to buy my own franchise in 2017.
Wow.
So in
Cool.
2017, another significant thing happened right around that time was I joined the John Maxwell team, as you
Yep.
know.
Yep. Sure. Sure.
And that's really when I started getting very intentional about growth. I
Uh,
didn't know prior to, but I had a hunger and desire ever since the time that I got in some trouble.
yeah.
And we can get into that a little bit more if you like.
Sure. Sure.
But I've always had a passion and desire for more, better. What's
Mm-hmm.
next?
Mm-hmm.
So um, when I got approached in 2017, it was the timing was just perfect. I had got my broker's license. I had a large team. And in 2019, we actually opened up the Realty One Group Restore
Okay.
franchise in our
Okay.
hometown here in Collegeville, Pennsylvania.
Nice.
And it was explosive growth, great model, um, really good team that I had put together.
Yeah.
And within 6 months, we had over 50 agents working with us.
Wow.
Um, we
Wow.
bought two more locations. So here in
Amazing.
Pennsylvania, we have offices now in Montgomery County, Collegeville, Bluebell, and Conshohocken.
Wow.
And we also have about almost 100, we're approaching 150 real estate agents. And so
Wow.
my sons,
Amazing.
Michael and Marcus, now, have to come home from college
Yeah.
over the years, and they've now taken over the sales part of the business. Lori runs the administrative part of the business, and Lou, my partner, operates as the broker of record and handles all the transactional management of the
Mm.
company.
Yeah.
And through this process of intentional growth, as you know,
Yeah.
in 2021, I launched Kingdom Coaching, where I now do speaking, training, and coaching on leadership, business
Yeah.
building, and serve our associations in the area of diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Oh, that's so awesome, Michael.
So it's been a long ride, but good
Yeah.
ride.
Yeah, man, there's so much I want to unpack here because I think go back to just I guess one of the things I'm curious about is what were some of the things that led to your growth in the business? So you were in the real estate business and you began to really grow. You left barbering and you went full time or full time focus on your real estate. What were some of the things that led to your success of and the growth of the business up until like say 2017 when you bought the franchise? What would you say some of those principles were if you know or if
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
thought about it?
Well, I think the first one I'd have to say my dad had instilled a very good work ethic
Ah,
in
yeah.
us.
Yeah.
I always was the first one at the shop, like the
Yeah.
last one to leave, kind of
Sure.
that will not be outworked
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
mentality.
Yeah.
But then also, I always had a passion for more. And,
Mm.
coming from kind of humble beginnings, money was a big motivator for me.
Sure.
And so from going from barbering into real estate, once I started seeing the opportunity for more financial success,
Yeah.
that really drove me
Mm.
to then utilize my sphere of influence
Mm.
to
Mm-hmm.
let everyone know in that sphere of influence that I was now in real estate full time and I'm here to serve.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, so that work ethic that your dad helped you with, and really just the motivation, it sounds like that was kind of what propelled you into that growth mode. As you built a team, what were some of the lessons that you learned as you built a team?
Yeah, wow, that's a hard one, right? So I've changed a little bit, but I was always known as a high D, like
Yep,
type A personality.
I totally get it.
I think some people would probably call me a control freak, like my wife and my children.
Yeah, yeah, I'm there with you, man.
Nobody could do it as good as I could do it
Yeah,
mentality.
yeah.
But what I learned and became more and more aware of is that in order for me to grow into the next level,
Hmm.
I had to learn how to trust my teammates.
So good.
I had to learn how to let go of some of the responsibility, even if it wasn't going to be done as good as I thought I could be done.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, John Maxwell teaches if they could do it 80% as good, that's good enough.
Right.
And you know what I realized after that was that when I stepped away from it, as time changed, you know, they started doing it even better,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because things change and there's better ways to do things. So
Hmm.
the hardest thing about the growth, I think, was letting go and trusting the team.
Yeah.
Um, but it was essential to the explosive growth that once I started to realize what was my strength. I'm a people person, right? I
Yeah.
go out there, I'm going to get the business. I was known in real estate as the rainmaker for the team.
Yeah. Yeah.
And once I just started focusing on that, everything started falling nicely into place in terms
Mm.
of, creating opportunities for others on the
Yeah.
team.
Man, I think that's such a great lesson for so many leaders, because I think there are so many leaders that are of that same personality, that D personality, or that D and I personality. And I know I've had to learn this as well. I've had to learn to put trust in the team, and let people know what my vision is, and then allow them to take it and run with it. And I think there's a lot of leaders that have to learn that lesson. So I think, to those of you who are listening, if you're an emerging leader, if you're an advancing leader, and you're in that process of, hey, you've been a great contributor, one-on-one contributor, and now you're moving into that team lead or that leadership role. I think it's really important to begin to look at your team, look at their strengths, and see how they can help you go further and farther. I know that, just looking at those strengths of a team, you can see where you can, put people so that they can lean into those strengths, and any team has to do that. So as a coach for your team, that's a really important growth point, I think.
Yeah, yeah. As you were talking, other thing I thought about is leading by example,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
having a coach
Yep. Absolutely.
is essential.
Yep.
It helped me to um, see the blind spots and become
Yeah.
more aware
Yeah.
of some of the things that may have been, being a lid or holding me back from all that I see or all that I had aspired for the vision for the company.
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
leading by example, I think is huge. Um, more is caught than taught.
Yeah, so true. In a lot of different areas, right? I mean,
Yeah,
there are things that I see now as my children are older that they picked up in me. Some things I wish they hadn't, but
right.
it is what it is, right? But yeah, you're right. So many things are caught, and I think that I'm really glad that you brought that up, that leading by example, because it is the element, I think, of discipline that makes a leader really great to show up, to be, do the things that nobody else wants to do, but you're going to do them anyway, even when you don't feel like doing them. That's part of leadership, and that's part of, I think, the growth process, leaning into those things that you maybe don't necessarily want to do all the time.
Yeah, it's funny. I said to my wife and my partner recently, like, if you would have told me going on, I joined the John Maxwell team in 2017, so 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And a funny story was I had just come off of doing 104 transactions in one
Wow.
year.
Oh my goodness.
And so the next step was, hey, you should get a coach. And um, interviewing some coaches, I had you know, most of the time, the coaches that I was interviewing at the company that I was at had never sold 100 houses. And it was a big expense in
Yeah.
1 year, right?
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
was a big expense. So I didn't really see the value in spending that money. So I, in turn, joined the John Maxwell team, kind of looking for a coach, but I started out in the people building
Mm.
lane
Mm-hmm.
because I really just wanted to learn how to be a better leader. At the time, I still had barbershops. People
Okay.
were working for me at the barbershop. And then I had grown almost 10 people on my real estate team.
Mm.
And so um, as I continued to grow there, um, like I said, I never aspired to to be a speaker, a trainer, or a coach.
Sure.
But I believe that I evolved into that out of what was already inside
Mm.
of me,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I didn't, I didn't say I wanted to do that,
Yeah.
but as I continued down that growth journey and that pathway, it actually evolved into, hey, you know what? I feel like I'm being called into this
Mm.
now. This is
Yeah.
more fulfilling.
Yeah.
And I think it also had something to do with the season of life.
Of
We're
course.
empty nesters, right?
Yep.
And so, um, a little bit more about my story.
Sure.
And John says, once you taste significance, success will never satisfy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when I originally started the pathway down there, I just wanted to become a better leader for the people that were following me or the people that I was leading.
Yeah. Right.
And then that evolved into what I said I would never want to do is being a professional speaker,
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
trainer, and a coach, right?
Yeah, it's funny how that happens, right? But anytime you say I'll never do that, or I never want to do that, oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm good. I just wanted to continue to build these businesses
yeah,
and I'm reading Good to Great right now. Did you
sure,
read that?
yep, absolutely, yeah, it's a good
So,
one.
good is the enemy of great.
Yeah,
And I've never been easily satisfied.
yeah,
And I'm also learning that being content and satisfied are two different things.
mm, yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, say a little bit more about that.
Yeah, being content. Like I'm earlier on in my life, um, as a result of getting in trouble, early on, I'm a high school dropout.
Mm,
I had some issues early on in my high school career. Parents split and things got tough. Um, I feel like I've always tried to aspire for success,
mm-hmm,
more money, more stuff,
mm-hmm, yeah,
Um, And at every level, buying the cars, the houses, the things,
Sure.
they never satisfied.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
never satisfied. Um, Once I understood that, a lot of my life as an entrepreneur, as a business person, was striving to kind of erase
Hmm.
those two big mistakes I feel like I made early on in my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in 2016, I shared that at my church,
Hmm. Wow.
that I had dropped out of high school and that I got in trouble with the law in my
Hmm.
early 20s.
Yeah.
Now, this is 25 years later, where most people in my church and in the community, they see Mike Howell today. They didn't
Today.
know
Yeah.
that guy.
Yeah. Sure.
And that was a big moment in my life of
Hmm.
surrender,
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
because those two things I think I didn't realize were kind of holding me back: the embarrassment, the guilt, the shame of them, and not wanting other people to know about it.
Sure. Yeah.
When I put it out there, I understood significance that night, and
Hmm.
it allowed other people, especially men, to just start to come up to me and share that they may have been struggling with something and
Hmm.
thanking me. And I
Hmm.
realized that my story was much more impactful,
Wow.
right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
um,
Interesting.
so then it would became, I want to make a difference in other people's lives,
Hmm. Yeah.
right? So I'm content where I'm at, but I'm not satisfied,
Yeah.
because there's always more, there's always better, there's more lives to impact.
Sure.
There's more things that I feel God is calling me to do to make a
Hmm.
difference in my world, right? In my
Right.
community, in our church, in my company.
Yeah.
And so the difference for me was, you'll never get satisfied if you're always seeking for more success,
Hmm.
but you can be content
Mm.
while you're striving to make more of a difference.
Oh, that's so good, Michael. Wow. Yeah. I think that's a really important lesson, especially for people who are continuing to strive to be, do, and have more, because it's not about having more stuff. It's about having more impact, and it's having um, more, I guess, impact and relationships that are growing, and impact on other people's lives, that they can be a significant impact on other people. So what I'm hearing you say too is just that it's not all about just success from a financial, stuff kind of a perspective. It's leaning into the significance of what really matters. What really matters in life, and it isn't the stuff, because you and I both know that stuff is, it rusts. It takes effort to keep it up, and all of those kinds of things. The little toys that we think we need to be satisfied with. And I think that's something that I've been learning as well, is that it's for me, I love the experiences with other people, and having those experiences really makes life rich, and I think makes the growth journey really special as well.
Yeah. Yeah. The growth journey helps you to shape your values as
Yeah,
well, right?
yeah, yeah,
Um, we all get to a certain place in life through experience, our childhood, how we were raised, our parents'
yeah,
beliefs, and
yeah.
things like that, right?
Hmm.
Um, I learned a lot of things the hard way, and a lot of the things that make a big difference in my life today came out of pain,
Yeah.
right? So what I value the most are the areas that I focus on the most,
Hmm. Hmm.
right?
Yeah. Well, and how so some of the values that you developed over the course of your growth journey, um, how did they like how did they become how did you become aware of those values? Like, Was there a process that you walked through, or was it
Yeah.
just yeah, just kind of a day by
So,
day?
when I was born in 69.
Okay.
So my mom and dad met in Germany. My dad's African American, my mom was German.
Okay.
So I don't know if you know this, but interracial marriage was not legal in the United States until 67.
Oh gosh, no, I didn't know that. Oh my
So
goodness.
when I was in second grade, so we lived in, my dad comes very humble beginnings, was dirt poor, but he was very ambitious.
Mm.
And because he was very dark skinned, he had a chip on his shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he also knew that environment was critical to development.
Wow.
So, he brought my mom back to the States, and in the community that we lived in, I didn't realize it then, but it was probably very difficult to be married to a white woman, right?
Mm, sure. Yeah.
Um, and those that presented a lot of challenges, but my dad knew that environment was critical to development. So he moved us out to the suburbs when I was in the second grade. So we were the first Black family in the neighborhood. My brother and I were the
Okay.
first Black family at the local Catholic school.
Okay.
And we had what I thought was the American dream. We had arrived, right? So second grade to like sixth grade, we'd go on vacations, we'd have Sunday dinners. We were a family.
Yeah.
I got a picture of what it looked like to have a family.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, mom and dad's relationship got really bad. And
Hmm.
a lot of childhood trauma, drama,
Sure.
abuse.
Hmm.
And in the eighth grade, going in the end of my eighth grade, going into my ninth grade, mom and dad separated for good.
Okay.
And I realize now, after a lot of work, growth, therapy,
Yeah.
that um, they would break up and then they get back together. They break up and get back together. This
Yeah.
time they didn't get back together.
Hmm.
And I went from an honor roll student to failing out of high school
Hmm. Wow.
to getting kicked out of the house to moving in with Lori
Okay.
to getting in trouble
Ah,
with the law and
yeah.
and eventually having to serve some time.
Wow. Wow.
And so the reason I'm telling you that is because as I realize as I grow and we talk about values is that I got to share a story with you about the day I got arrested.
Mm, yeah. Yeah.
So I ended up getting in, I had was working a job and started hustling drugs
Mm.
and to the guys on the job. Long story short, one of the guys got busted and they turned into a confidential informant and set me up. So I'm at
Oh.
my house one day and literally SWAT busts in the door. They're
Wow.
raiding my house all over the place. Um, I'm down on the ground. They got their guns drawn, and they. I'm down to my underwear, and I'm handcuffed to a chair.
Oh wow.
And my 2-year-old son Michael walks into the room in a pamper,
Oh wow.
and I just remember looking up in the sky and saying, "God, please don't let me lose my family."
Hmm. Wow. Wow.
And the reason I'm telling you what I value so much
Hmm.
is that I realized that I valued my family. I was that eighth grade, ninth grade kid, always wanted mom and dad to get back together. I wanted to get that family back.
Yeah.
And I didn't know I was going down that road. I thought I was kind of doing something on the side nobody would know about, but God knew that I
Hmm.
needed to be stopped at that time
Yeah.
where I may have lost my family.
Yeah.
Because today, besides my relationship with God, it's my family that's most valuable to me.
Hmm.
So I spent
Hmm.
the rest of my, the next 20 something years working on making sure that my family was number one and that
Yeah.
my family would stay the most important, most valuable thing to me.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
so the value of my family is number one, right? My
Hmm.
number one is obviously my relationship with God. Number two is
Yeah.
my family.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then number three was is my purpose. A lot of people
Mhm.
call it your business, right? Your
Yeah.
career.
Yeah.
I've learned to call that my purpose.
Mm-hmm.
It's what I feel like God is calling me into at this season of my life,
Yeah.
right? And then um, your body temple,
Yep. Yeah.
your
Yeah.
body temple. I've learned in this growth journey that when I'm good, mind, body, and spirit,
Mm-hmm.
I'm more productive.
Oh,
I'm more
yeah.
creative. I
Yeah.
see clearer. I'm
Mm-hmm.
healthier,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then you need money,
Yeah. Right.
right?
Yeah.
We
Right.
need money to make an impact. We need money to make a difference. We need money to, and it's the love of money that's the root of all evil. It's not money itself.
Sure. Sure.
So I've slimmed down to like these five key areas
Yeah.
of life, and now I actually teach a class called Journey to Purpose
Yeah. Yeah.
on those five key areas, right? And
Yeah.
if you want to, you have goals and dreams and desires, what you value should show up on your daily agenda.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
So
Man,
I'm
so
sorry I
good.
went so long there, but
No,
I
no, no,
think it's
no.
important when you're talking about values and my journey specifically.
Yeah, no doubt about it. As I was thinking, I was just jotting some notes because as I was listening to your story, I was thinking before you even said the word purpose, I was thinking really from pain to purpose that your pain in that moment drove the growth and your growth journey towards purpose and towards your calling. And I really loved that, there are so many people who might go through a situation like that. That there's a life journey, and they don't think about the direction that they're going and making it something that is positive or in taking it in a positive direction. There's a lot of people that could just sit in that place and say, "Woe is me," and and I'm sure there are people that still stay there, but you chose to grow. You chose to move in a different direction, and I guess what was Lori's role in that? Because I know that she's played a pivotal role in, your journey as well.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, she's my rock, right? When we met, home life was pretty bad,
Mm,
right? And there was a specific night that I share, the night I knew she was the one,
mm.
right? Like it just wasn't a good night at the Howell home.
Sure.
And it was something that I would never wanted anybody from the outside to see.
Mm,
And she saw it.
mm.
And instead of running, which I thought most people would,
Yeah.
she stayed right there and she loved me in it and she loved me through it and she
Wow.
supported me.
Wow.
And even when, I got arrested, for 2.5 years, I was on work release every
Mm,
day, having to go back and forth to the county prison.
wow.
And at the time that I got sentenced, she was pregnant with our second son,
Oh, wow.
Marcus.
Okay.
So, you know, August 1st, 1994, I turned myself into the county
Mm,
prison for
wow.
18 months. And she's pregnant with Marcus, who's born on in October 1994.
Wow.
And that's another story in itself because he had some complications when he was born.
Yeah.
But when I think about, it's just so many things I could share about Lori,
Yeah.
but I don't know a lot of women that would have hung in there and stayed with me when,
Right.
we were going through such a tough and difficult season.
Yeah.
But
Mm,
she stayed right there. She's always been supportive.
mm,
She had a full-time job for most of our, lives.
mm-hmm.
And in 2015, after 21 years in corporate America, came and joined me in real estate. And, here we are 33 years later, owning a real estate company with
Yeah.
our friend and partner. Our two
Mm-hmm.
sons, Michael and Marcus, run the sales team.
Yeah.
We just sold our house of 25 years, and our youngest son just got married a month ago.
It's amazing.
And
Yeah. So,
so I give God all the glory,
yeah.
and Lori gets a big
A crown.
shout out as
She's your
well
queen, man.
for a queen
Yeah.
to say the least,
Yeah.
for putting up with me, because I certainly
No.
haven't made it easy.
No, man, I totally get that. We could trade stories for sure. And if
Yeah.
Cindy listens to this, she'll be like, "Yeah, let me tell you some." Oh man. So tell me a little bit about what is it like to have your sons in business with you? Because I was a partner with my dad for about 19 years, and I mean, there were a lot of great moments that we had, and there were some great things that we accomplished together. And I learned a lot from him. And there were also some moments that weren't so great as well. Frustrations on my part, but also growth parts, for me as well. And I've taken some of those moments and almost replayed them in my head now as I've worked with some of my family members. One of my kids actually does the books for our company, and so I'm just kind of curious from your perspective, what's it like having your sons in business with you and just being able to help them to grow as well?
It's probably one of the best blessings of my life.
Mm, wow, cool.
Um, they're both they're both a mixture of Lori and I, right?
Yeah, sure.
But they've always been leaders. They're athletes, so they played
Mm-hmm.
sports throughout all the way up into college. So they're
Oh,
leaders in their spheres as well.
yeah,
And business is, there's a set of principles for any business that you run, right? And I
yeah,
teach business building um, to our office and to the community.
yeah.
And so they've now just been able to actually put those principles into place
Mm,
with their own sphere of influence, along with Lori and I's sphere of influence,
yeah,
and do the things that have helped us to be successful. And it's grown them personally, professionally, and financially.
yeah.
And we all, like, we're crazy sports fans.
Sure.
We all love God.
Yeah,
Both my boys are leaders in church, and they lead life groups.
cool.
Um, and so, you know, I always go, you said it best, pain to purpose.
Yeah.
You know, the things that hurt me the most as a kid, when the family was to break up,
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like God is restoring and redeeming it in my family.
Oh, wow. That's
So
wonderful,
I
man.
love the fact that
Yeah.
we get to work together, but it's not always easy.
Yeah.
I'm not the easiest person to work with.
Mm.
Um, I don't say for anymore because they
Yeah,
have a
right, right.
choice,
Yeah,
right?
sure, sure.
Um,
Mhm.
but that's part of the growth in the journey too, right?
Yeah.
Is becoming aware these guys they're not just my kids anymore, they're men,
Yeah, right,
right?
right.
And so, like I said earlier on, leading by example,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
learning when I'm not doing something right, or if I've been harsh, or if I've not been kind because the frustrations, life gets lifey,
Yeah.
to be able to
Mm-hmm.
go back and say, hey, I'm sorry, I didn't handle that properly.
Yeah,
And
sure.
I wouldn't suggest you do that, right?
Right, right, right.
And when I think about that, I think about, the fact that I can I can do my part by leading by example,
Mm-hmm.
and they've got a better example to follow that
Yeah.
could take them to, you know, the levels that they want to go, right?
Yeah, new places.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so great. So, I'd love to just kind of like turn the corner here for just a moment. We've talked about kind of what led you to where you are today. And I'm always interested in like how do you sustain growth and what's next for you like in this new season. I mean you're in a new place. You sold the house that you've lived in for 25 years and now you're in a new season of life. What's like what's on the horizon for you and how do you keep yourself growing and moving in the direction of your vision and your purpose?
Number one is my relationship with God,
Mm-hmm.
and having that daily quiet time,
Yeah.
and being a little bit more flexible,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like
Mm-hmm.
understanding that I don't know it all.
Hmm.
And so just having a passion for growth, having a passion for more knowledge,
Yeah.
um, being committed,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, a lot of the things I've found from the 15 invaluable laws, consistency, right?
Yeah,
What's
sure.
next? So I do pretty much the same things every morning,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yeah.
And that's where I get the guidance and direction on how to make choices and decisions
Yeah.
for what's next.
Yeah.
It's why I'm launching into the kingdom coaching space, because I feel it's not something that I desired when I started.
Sure.
I feel like it's more of a calling.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you take what you already have in you, right? If I'm going to do this,
Yeah.
I'm not going to half-ass it,
Yeah, right, right. Yeah, you're going all the
right?
way, man.
I'm going to get good
Yeah.
at it, because in order to make a difference and make a greater impact in the world,
Mm.
you got to be credible.
Yeah,
You
sure.
got to be credible.
Yeah.
And I think so far in the journey, where God has me today, there's plenty of room to grow into making more of a difference, making more of an impact. So,
Mm.
it's
Mm-hmm.
really for me, just being guided and directed by His Spirit,
Yeah.
and obeying where I'm supposed to be going,
Man. Yeah,
and
it's so
then
good. Mm.
trusting Him with it, that whatever comes up, I'll be able to handle it.
Yeah, you've got the capacity within you to take on whatever comes your way. One of the things that I'm hearing you say that I really appreciate and I think is really true, especially with any leader who's going on a growth journey and I think even transitioning into different seasons of life is the the stability of a daily discipline. A morning routine, a morning ritual, and some disciplines that will help give you a foundation to be able to help you to be on purpose and to be leaning into that significance as opposed to just striving for success all the time. And I think that the people that I've talked with, and not only just here on the podcast, but other leaders that I've been able to interact with, there's some kind of discipline that's involved. I was just talking this week with one of my clients, and we were talking about this idea of discipline equals freedom, and it's that discipline that we walk ourselves through and take ourselves through, whether it's that morning, rituals of quiet time and meditation and maybe even journaling. Um, that gives us the freedom to be able to have the mind to do the things that we want to do and be filled with the things that God wants us to be about and accomplishing. And so I think what I'm hearing you say is that foundation for you is really the thing that helps you to weather the seasons of life and the different seasons, the changing seasons. And I think that's really important for any leader who's going through a growth journey, because there are season changes. There are things that happen that naturally just evolve. I mean, your son getting married and you guys moving and all of those little things can take us out of our element. But when we have that foundation of a discipline both physically, spiritually, and mentally and emotionally, that makes a huge difference. Makes a huge difference.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You said it. You have to be filled.
Yeah, yeah.
You have to be filled every day. And that's what I found, in Journey to Purpose. And I think it's session 2, we talk about, or session 1 is, you start with your heart's desire. What's your desire, your goal,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And then you want to be filled on a daily basis. It's that getting good, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's what you want to come out. You
Yeah.
need to be filled up with
Yeah.
regularly.
Yeah.
And it really helps to identify where to go, decisions to make, your choices, right?
Yeah.
What's the right next move? What's the right choice or decision? Those quiet times help you, and getting filled help you to make those decisions.
Yeah.
Like I said, and I know you're a person of faith.
Yep.
It starts with that, though, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It does.
Being in alignment.
Yeah.
Being in alignment helps you to know what's next.
Yeah. And I think that
And
just,
and
yeah,
and
go ahead.
less
Go ahead.
likely to be distracted.
Right, right, and that's a huge one. I mean, that's so huge. I think distraction is probably one of the biggest stumbling blocks for leaders in their growth journey. Is just being distracted and not taking the time to focus and not being willing to slow down and take the time to to create that vision in their head. And one of the things that I was going to ask you is, so if you are talking to, let's say, in my terms, an emerging leader, somebody who's maybe new to leadership, how do they create that vision? Because I've talked to a number of different leaders who maybe they're new on their journey and they don't even know, like, what do they desire? How do they find their purpose and really, kind of see that future that God wants them to pursue. How do you help people do that? I don't know if you have a process that you take people through or anything like that.
I think you really need to get a coach.
Yeah,
I
sure.
think
Yeah.
that's one of the things, right? Is get a
Yeah.
coach, have some accountability,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because a lot of people, I think, don't really know where they're going. Like I've always wanted, um I've always desired for big and great and better things, but I didn't start out to aspire to be a real estate owner of a real estate company.
Sure.
I put some principles in place: hard work,
Mm-hmm.
discipline,
Yeah.
commitment.
Mm-hmm.
And then as I grew, once I got a coach and started spending that time, quiet time, writing,
Mm-hmm.
asking
Mm.
questions, getting curious, and
Yeah.
then journaling,
Yeah.
the vision started to get clearer.
Mm. I'm so glad you said that. Yeah.
The vision started to get clearer. And some of the dreams and goals that I used to have that were almost always financial
Yeah.
shifted,
Yeah. Interesting.
right?
Yeah.
The goal to make more money became to make more of a difference.
Yeah. Mm.
And guess what happened? I started
Yeah.
making more money too.
Right, right. Yeah, it's kind of interesting how that happens. Yeah. It's just that's not your sole focus, That's not, yeah. Yeah, I think that's
So get a
so key.
coach,
Yeah.
practice the disciplines of daily quiet time, commitment.
Mhm.
Um, you definitely need to have somebody out in front of you that can help you see the blind spots that you're not able to see, right?
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
get through some of the breakthroughs. What are some of the areas? I think about some of the communication that I was just not good at, but it
Mm.
was it was hindering the growth.
Yeah.
And when I had a call with one of my coaches and tell them what's going on, you know, they could share with you, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And
Mm-hmm.
and you see some things, and then you know, hey, all right, you know what? I'm going to work on this,
Yeah, sure.
and I'm going to work on this a little bit more every day,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's about progress every day,
Mm-hmm.
not perfection.
Mm. I love
That's what
that.
I'm still working on.
Yeah.
You want
Yeah.
it to be perfect, but
Yeah.
while you're trying to make it perfect, you're stuck and you're stagnant.
Yeah.
Just
I love
keep
that.
moving, and the progress. You may not ever be perfect, but it'll continue to get better and better and better.
I love that, Michael. Man, it's just such a delight to have you here and just share some time, not only just hearing your story, but hearing the growth journey that you've been on. And thank you for sharing so openly just about your journey. I know that it's going to help somebody who's listening. And so I'm really grateful for you being here today. Tell everybody where they can get a hold of you, where they can get in touch, and maybe see more about your programs. I'd love to just have you share that.
Yeah, website kingdomcoachingmh.com, on Facebook, Kingdom Coaching by Mike Howell. That'll link you up to everything else social media
Awesome,
wise.
awesome.
And yeah, David, thank you. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure to be on
Yeah,
with you.
yeah,
I
man.
you know, I've admired you since the moment I met you. I've told you that before, and I just appreciate the opportunity to come and spend some time with you today.
Yeah, man. Well, and I know we've got a lot more things to do together into the future. So I'm really excited about that, and really excited to see where God has us in the future, man. So appreciate you, and yeah, God bless you, and we'll see you again soon.
You got it. Thank you.